Alright, hi, I'm Mr. Strohmeyer, and welcome to my first webcast. And today we're going to be talking about setting up your interactive notebook and an introduction to the interactive notebook. And I apologize in advance, I'm a little sick, so if I'm coughing or something like that, please excuse me. Alright, so interactive notebooks. Some of you might have kept an interactive notebook before, some of you might not. I do mine a little bit differently. So we're going to talk about the what, who, when, and where of your interactive notebook. So what is it? It's a collection of all learning done during the semester. In fact, about 95% of all of the assignments you're going to do in class will be done in this notebook. Okay? Who keeps it? Everyone keeps their own notebook. Okay, so there's no sharing notebooks or something like that. When do we use them? We pretty much use these every class period, except for when we have a test day. That's the only time you won't use it. And where do you keep this? You can keep this in the classroom most days because I don't assign homework. Your homework will be whatever you don't finish in class. However, if you do have to bring it home, make sure you bring it back the next day. Alright? So why are you keeping an interactive notebook? And I started keeping interactive notebooks in my class about 4 years ago. And really, the reason I started it because I saw that students were having a hard time with educational organization. And they weren't good at having a notebook, they weren't good at keeping a notebook neatly, they would lose their notebook, and so this was my answer to that. In fact, there's a really strong correlation to your educational organization and how well you do or your grade in a class. And I almost instantaneously saw student grades go up and student learning go up when I did this. All right, also I use this for consistency. So we're always working on the same page and no one's getting lost. It gives a good structure to the classroom, and I think you'll see that the first couple days you're here. All right, the third reason is less lost work. Because you're keeping this notebook in class, all your assignments are going in it, and you're not ripping assignments out, we really shouldn't be losing work. I really felt bad for students when they would do the work and then they legitimately just couldn't find it in their notebooks or had been ripped out accidentally. And that happens quite a bit with normal notebooks. So in the interactive notebook, that should almost never happen. All right, and another reason is catching up after an absence is much easier. So if you're absent, you can just grab someone else's notebook and look and see what you don't have, and that's what you need to do, and you can talk to me about that. And the last reason is documentation. So if your folks come and they want to know why you're getting the grade you are, typically the first thing I'll do is grab your notebook and show it to them. And just by looking through your notebook, I can get a pretty good idea of what your grade is in the class. So you want to keep it nice and neat, you want to do your best on all of the assignments, and it really will help you learn. And that is really the goal, right? Okay, so let's start setting up your notebook. Some things we're going to do today is we're going to make the front cover, we're going to go over the rules of the interactive notebook, you're going to set up the table of contents, and you're going to insert a couple reference pages in the first 3 or 4 pages. Alright, some things you're going to need before you start. You're going to need a Sharpie, okay, a ruler, a pen or a pencil, the handout packet that has all the reference pages, and I should have given you a notebook like this. Alright, so if you don't have those, pause the video right now and make sure you have those before you go on. Okay. Alright, so let's set up the front cover. Now the front cover is important because when you're getting yours out of the bin, you want it to be distinctive so you can find it quickly. That being said, you also want it to be neat so I can read it. Okay, so right up here at the top, you're going to put your first and last name. You want to write it nice and big, but not too big that it takes up the whole cover. Okay, in the middle of the notebook, you're going to write your subject, so biology or A&P or science or whatever class you have. Okay, again, nice and big and neat, but not overwhelming. You don't want to take up the whole thing. And the last thing down at the bottom will be the period. And this way, if your notebook is put in the wrong bin, I'll find it and be able to put it back more easily. Okay, so you're going to be using your Sharpie for this. So get your Sharpie and go ahead and pause the video and do that now. I'll see you on the next page. Alright, now we're to the rules in interactive notebook. And there are 5 rules, and once we get through this slide, you'll write these on the inside front cover, so on that cardboard section, again using the Sharpie. Alright, but first let's go over the 5 rules so you understand them and why we have these rules, right? So the first rule is bring your interactive notebook every day. Because we use it every day, 95% of your work will be in here. It's just important that it's here. If you forget it at home, then you're gonna have to like put stuff in later, and it's more likely you'll get lost. So it's just easier to have it here. Okay, the second rule is we do a lot of labs in here, and labs are to be done in pencil only. Now there's two reasons for this. The first reason is we do a lot of wet labs. So if you spill something on your notebook, if you used pen, it would run and be really messy. Pencil doesn't do that. And the second reason, of course, is you can erase pencil. So if we're taking data and you write something wrong, it's a lot neater in your data table to just erase it. I actually recommend you always use pencil in your notebook, but you're big boys and girls, and you can use pen at your discretion if you can write neatly and you don't have to erase very often. All right, the third rule is every assignment is written, taped, or glued in. There should never be any loose papers. So what this means is, let me grab my example here, is I should be able to take your notebook and shake it, and nothing should fall out. All right? That way nothing's ever getting lost and you have it nice and neat. Right? The fourth rule is no staples. The first year I did this, I actually allowed students to staple things in. It was a big mess. Like, students would staple pages together accidentally. The staples would come loose over time and work would start falling out. And then, like, the most annoying thing is the staples would catch on the other papers and start ripping them out. So we just want to stay away from staples in our notebook this year, just to keep it nice and neat. All right? The fifth and last rule is only your subject work in this notebook. Okay? I bought these with my own money for you. You'll get a new one each semester. So I just want to see your subject in here. I don't want to find your math homework in the back or doodles. We're going to have about 100 pages or more in the notebook. So you want to have a couple extra pages in case you make mistakes so you can rip out a page or two. All right? So again, you're going to write these 5 rules in with your Sharpie and that inside front cover. So go ahead and pause the video and do that now. All right, now you're going to use that very first page opposite your rules. Okay, we're going to make this our table of contents. The table of contents doesn't get a page number, so just remember that. All right, and for this you're going to use your ruler and a pen. All right, now the first thing you want to do, and let me get my pen going here, is we're going to make a line vertically down the page about 1 ruler's width. Nice straight line like this. Okay, and then we're going to make a horizontal line about 2 lines down there, and then nice straight across like this. All right, over on this side, it's going to be the page number. Sorry, this pen isn't the best. And over here, it's going to be the topic. And I expect you to keep your table of contents up to date so you can find things easily. And here's an example of a really nice one a student did at the beginning of the year. Okay, so that's pretty much what yours should look like. All right, so go ahead and pause the video and make that now. All right, on page 1, so this is going to go on the opposite side of your table of contents. And it's probably the first page in your packet. It's the syllabus. But before we do anything with the syllabus, let's talk about a syllabus real fast. Right? A syllabus is a legally binding document. So what is on here is it's legally binding, and that's because your grades are a legal document. All right? So how this works is if I don't do what I say on the syllabus, is you can go to Mr. Archer, the principal, and you can petition to have your grade changed based on me not doing what I said. Now that being said, the syllabus is a living document and it can be changed during the time of the class. And I've changed it a couple times here and there as we got into a class and I saw things weren't working very well. And I'll just have you write right on it. Okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to add this as a flipper on the first page. And let me show you what a flipper is. Okay? So using this one as an example again, here's the biology syllabus. And if you look at the paper, it's bigger than the actual notebook. So you need to use a pair of scissors to cut this. And then you're just going to add a piece of tape here at the top so this can flip up. Okay? We do a lot of flippers with our handouts, and so you'll get pretty good at this. All right? So go ahead and put that in, then we'll look at the specifics of the syllabus on the next page. All right, so here is the syllabus. Right? This is the biology syllabus. You might have another one that might be slightly different, but my syllabus, they all have the same basic parts. So let's go over that. Okay, the first thing here I want to point out is my cell phone number. All right? This rings this cell phone right here, and I'm available to you by a cell phone till 9 o'clock. So if you're ever studying for a test or a quiz or doing an assignment and you're just lost, you don't know what's going on, give me a call. I'm just here to help you, and I'll answer this till about 9 o'clock for students. If you're a student that likes to study like late at night, like 2 o'clock in the morning, don't call me. I probably won't be too happy about that, and I probably won't answer. All right, but it's there. Please use it. Okay, the next thing here is the class description. And I wrote this. This is just what I think the class is about and what I think is important in the class that you're in. So make sure you read that over. All right, the next thing down here is the tentative schedule. It'll vary about a week either direction. We try to keep to it as best as possible, though, so it's fairly accurate. The last part is the most important, or this next part is the most important, and it's how you're graded. Okay, so that gives you the overall percentages of the different things. So read that really carefully, and if you have any questions, ask. And here at the bottom are some class policies. Right, so I'm pretty strict on cheating and copying. You shouldn't be copying other people's work, and if you do, you're not going to be getting credit for a lot of assignments. Attendance, unexcused absences. That's when you don't come to school with a note or your parent calling. You're going to get 0 points for any work that was done that day. Late work, I don't accept late work, so make sure you're doing your work every day. And it's not on here, but just let me mention it now, is I don't let you do extra credit assignments. A couple years ago, I had a group of students who didn't do very much during the semester, and then right at the end, like the last 2 weeks, they asked for extra credit. And I didn't think that it would be fair to give them the same grade as a student who'd been working the entire semester by coming in and doing an assignment or two. All right, so go ahead and pause the video and read that over, and we'll move on to the next page. All right, so the next 3 or 4 pages are going to vary based on what class you're in. So you may have all of these, or you might have none of these. So just look in that packet I gave you. All right, the first thing I typically give a class is the metric conversion chart. All right, being in America, we don't use the metric system very much, but the metric system is used exclusively in science, and you should get to know that fairly well. All right, so I give you this conversion chart. That should go on page 2 as a flipper. Okay, so typically something I give, particularly my science classes and my biology class, is a Latin and Greek prefix and suffix chart. The language of science can be kind of confusing because it is Latin and Greek, so you might read a word you don't understand. So you can use this chart to kind of look up the meaning of these words. So let's just take the word arthropod. Okay, so arthropods are the class of animals that include insects, scorpions, spiders, and crabs and crustaceans. And arthro means joint, and pod means foot. So the thing that all of these animals have in common are these jointed legs or these jointed feet, and you can get that from the Greek root there. Okay, so anytime you're reading and you don't understand a word, go ahead and flip to this page and see if you can tease it out for yourself. It's very good practice, and this should go on page 3 if you have it. All right, and the last thing I typically give for reference pages is the section objectives. This is what I use to plan my class. It's given to me by the district. And it has things like pertinent vocabulary, learning objectives, critical questions. I give it to you just so you can kind of see where we're going in the learning and plan ahead for yourself. So if you have this will go on pages 4 or 5 probably, something like that. Just keep them in order. So page 1 will be metric conversion if you have it. Page 2 will be the Latin and Greek prefix. Page 3 or 4 will be the section objectives. All right, and I think that's going to do it. If you have any questions, just call me over and I'll help you out. All right, so I hope this was helpful, and you'll see how this really gets going in the next few days as you do some assignments. All right, well, good luck in my class, and we'll see you later.